game. We rise and unite, fueling the passion, igniting the light. Through highs and lows, we'll stand as one. Our legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar, together we roar. Detroit Lions will rise, with a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices, let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions, we'll always be proud.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. I'm your host, Will Rock, and it is a bad day, man. Bad day for the Lions today. Bad news last night. We're going to try to turn that frown upside down this morning. And, yeah, we'll talk about JMO, of course. Kid just can't seem to get himself out of trouble long enough. Not sure where this is trending for JMO. We don't have any extra news yet, but we'll talk about what we know about that. We'll also talk about Maxx Crosby and the truth behind all of these rumors. 'Cause that's all it is. It's just clickbait rumors. But we'll talk about it and maybe what makes sense. I'm going to do a lot of this off the cuff today. Didn't really get a whole lot of time between last night and today to get a lot of prep done. So it's going to be working while we're talking. What else are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about, we'll recap the pick'ems from last week. It wasn't a terrible week, wasn't a great week. It was kind of right in the middle. PFF grades, I wanted to recap that. Power ranks, I believe those are already out, so we'll talk about where the Lions are. Should be near the top, I hope. Should be. I don't think many people have lost faith in the Lions just yet. But I'd like to know right away before we get started, what is your feeling? What is your immediate feeling headed into Green Bay without Jameson Williams? What effect do you think that's going to have on this Lions team? I think it's going to have a big effect. I've seen some comments where people say, we don't need JMO. We didn't have JMO last year. Well, that was last year. Last year was last year. It's a different team. Way different Packers team. This Packers team is for real. Like they're here and they're not going anywhere. They are for real. I mean, they're knotted up with the rest of us, right? So you got 3 teams in the NFC North that have 5 wins. And the Packers have yet to have a bye week, so they've played an extra game. They're 5-2. But they are absolutely for real. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, it's not like it's that difficult. So we need every advantage that we can get. So let's talk about JMO first. But I would really like to know what are your thoughts about losing JMO for 2 games? We don't know exactly what substances that he's being accused of utilizing in his body. There is a defining difference, and we'll talk about that too. PEDs versus substances, which generally, it's what they're taking as far as supplements and things like that have banned substances in it or banned chemicals that they can't use. I mean, it gets really grainy. In fact, I got to get my email open. I sent myself a document. It gets really grainy with all of the different things that they have to do about getting permission to even get treatment from doctors for certain conditions. Let me get the NFLPA drug policy open here. So drug testing, just in case you guys want to understand how this works, I found that it was kind of odd that he was tested. rightfully so. They have the right to do that, right? All players will receive at least one annual test under this new policy. So well, they call it an SOA test. I'm not sure the acronym here. But the SOA test is an annual test, but it does not test for THC. I guess they don't test for THC anymore. But this testing may only happen in groups, free agents. You will usually be tested within a week of signing and will be tested if you have not already had the annual. So there is an annual test that they do. Then there's training camp report date and the first full weekend of preseason games. Does not include the Hall of Fame game. All players receive one annual test under the PES policy. So performance enhancing substances policy. A percentage of annual tests under the PES policy will also be tested for THC. So apparently that's where they do it. And from the start of training camp until the week after your last game, if you are notified of a test in the morning, you must complete the test before the start of afternoon activities. If notified in the afternoon, you must complete the test within an hour after afternoon activities end. Any day of the year, they can be tested for random testing any day of the year. During the off season, you may be tested up to 6 times. You have 24 hours to complete the test and report. And after notification is received from the drug-free sport, I'm not sure what drug-free sport is. Maybe it's some sort of agency. But notification begins at the time you were informed, either directly or when the message is left on your voicemail or when the text message is sent. You have 24 hours to report to get tested. Substances they do test for: cocaine, synthetic marijuana, amphetamines, including Adderall, opiates, opioids, PCP, MDMA. The PES annual test for the following categories of substances: anabolic, androgenic steroids, protein and peptide hormones, anti-estrogenic agents like tamoxifen, which I know of because cancer patients, breast cancer patients are on that type of medication, or a large majority of them are. Selective androgen receptor modulators, or SARMs, like Osterin, diuretics like chlorothiazide, stimulants like amphetamines, Ritalin, ephedrine, and gene doping. I'm not sure what gene doping is. I've never heard of that. So those are some of the PESs. So performance enhancing substances, there's a little bit of a, I don't want to say an argument, but maybe a little bit of a debate. You know, when I made my video about this, I said, if it's steroids, I would be really upset at JMO if it was steroids. If it's just some random substance that is in a, product that he's using that he didn't know or didn't get cleared, that's just stupidity. And I'm not even going to go down that road, but common sense is sometimes it's hard to come by. But anyway, according to this, PESs includes steroids. So it's performance enhancing substances. And then there's also performance enhancing drugs, which according to this are pretty much the same damn thing. And this is the NFLPA's policy here on what they test for. So it's coming straight from the horse's mouth. I'm not going to go into all of the rest of this, but at least you understand, some of the things that they're testing for. And there's some banned substances, and it is a list. When I tell you, it's an exhaustive list. And so this is where I'm going to give JMO the benefit of the doubt until we hear otherwise. Okay? There is, I kid you not, there is at least, that's at least 40, 80, 100, 200, 250, 250 banned substances, maybe. It's an exhaustive list, and it is from A to T. It's in alphabetical order. They've got stimulants listed. They've got masking agents listed. They have SARMs listed, the anti-estrogenic agents, anabolic steroids, protein and peptide hormones. I mean, everything we just discussed, they've got this huge list. And I don't know if you've looked at the back of a protein shake or, anything lately, or protein powder, but it's pretty much an exhaustive list of ingredients. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt until, and what I'm saying by this is that it wasn't done by purpose, wasn't done by purpose. As far as the appeal, so John Desage says, I wish he could appeal this for a couple of weeks and miss the Houston and Jacksonville instead of a division game. So on the appeal side of this, he can appeal. It's just, I don't know how quickly that would happen. And I don't know that it would delay the judgment that he's, already going to receive. I don't think it delays it. I mean, I'm sure the NFL would be as swift as they can be. I can't imagine that it would go beyond a week. So even if he loses his appeal or he gets it reduced to one game, well then, I mean, that would be the goal, that he gets it reduced to one game. Then he could miss this week and then be back for Green Bay. But the likelihood of that happening in the same week, and why, JMO said that he was just going to take it on the chin. If we were to take that context, or that framework, I guess, of what he's saying, he knows what he did it, and there's no, there's no way that he's going to win an appeal, I guess, is probably what he's thinking. I'm guessing here, right? I'm guessing. Maybe it's just not worth it. It's not worth all the trouble. He's just going to take it on the chin because he did what he did. He's going to own up to it, which, hey, I mean, he doesn't really have a choice in the matter, but I guess there's another way to look at it from a maturity standpoint. He's not going to try to bend the rules or try to get any favors here. He's just going to say, hey, I screwed up. I did it. I'm going to take it, be done with it, and hopefully move on. But now let's give you the side of me that's not real happy. Like, this stuff can't happen. It just can't. I said it in the video, and I'm going to say it again right now. Everybody is going to look at us like we're cheaters. Everybody. They're going to look at Lions fans as Lions as a team, and they're just going to think we're cheaters. They're going to think we're doing everything that we can, not only with, trying to pull what we did versus the Cowboys last year, which nothing wrong with that. That's part of the game. That is the game. It's the whole game of football. But the NFL outright tried to call us cheaters in a sense. And then you have the whole, Kirby Joseph is dirty, and Brian Branch, I haven't really heard it enough, but I've heard a couple of words being spoken about Brian going low, but the whole Kirby Joseph is dirty, and making the Lions look dirty, because that's what it's done. And you hear it from a collective of fans, right? I don't think that there's an overwhelming majority that would think that the Lions are dirty players. And then now you have this, using banned substances, whatever the substance is. I guess it really doesn't matter. And the one thing that I found interesting, so let me pull up the rules real quick, and then I'll come back to my statement. There was something that didn't make any sense to me. Okay. Players, coaches, trainers, or agents face the following penalties for PED violation if tested positive for steroids or other banned substances. Now stay with me here, because is this where they're trying to separate PED and PES? Because it didn't seem like they were. It said that they're testing for, positive steroids or other banned substances Your first time offense, you just have to participate in the NFL's drug program. Your second and third time offense, you get 2 games for the first, 4 games for the second. Hold up. Wait a minute. Does that mean that J-Mo's already been warned? That he's already been caught? He's already dropped dirty? And this is the second time? Because this is the first time I've ever heard of it. But if it's the first time you just have to participate in the NFL's drug program, then why is he being suspended? Now, after the first, second, and third violation, fourth time of offenders have to sit out, it says 4 fixtures. I don't know what the hell fixtures are. And players and officials who test positive a 5th time must miss 10 games. And then the 6th time violator will face a year suspension. So honestly, I mean, hell, you might as well take advantage of it. You might as well go hard and use this crap because the penalties are kind of weak. You can get caught 6 times before you have to miss an entire year. You can get caught 5 times and you miss 4 games, a quarter of the season. Doesn't seem like it's really deterring anybody. But anyway, I want to back up to that statement I made. Does this mean that J-Mo has now been dropped dirty twice? That this has already happened? I don't remember hearing anything or seeing anything about his initial dirty drop, if allegedly, right? I'm speculating here because based on what the rule says and what the penalty says, that's what it would mean. Now, it also states in here that these penalties don't apply during the off season. Those who fail the drug test within this period must undergo a rehab program before the next season begins. Yeah. It's not a big deterrent, is it? Clearly, the NFL is not taking that big of a stance on PEDs. If that's the level of punishment, doesn't seem very harsh. And shout out to Eric Rintamaki this morning, doing well after surgery. Glad you're doing good, buddy. I don't know, Eric. I'm not real sure, man. I'm not sure if this is, I don't know if they're going to release the information and if they do, when. Not real sure, but we'll move on from this subject. I mean, I think it is what it is. Everyone's a little bit disappointed, or a lot disappointed. I guess going back to the statement that I didn't make, this crap can't happen. You are on a winning ball club, J-Mo. And this team needs you, and you finally started to, get your act right. You finally started to put it together on the field. Don't waste it, man. Don't waste this huge opportunity that is sitting in front of you. We've seen it, from other players. They've got all the gifts in the world and they just waste it because they can't get out of their own head and they can't stop from making stupid decisions. So I would implore you to get better, continue to get better people around you. Continue to talk to people that will listen. But just do better, man. Like this team is going through a lot right now. We've got a ton of injuries, and to do boneheaded stuff like this, it just can't happen. Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't been suspended. Tim Patrick hasn't been suspended. Khalif Raymond hasn't been suspended. None of the other rookies that have been on this team have been suspended. Maybe you should start following in their footsteps. And I'm pretty sure the Detroit Lions don't accept this kind of behavior. Eric Myers, if I could be a fly on the wall right now in that room, to your question, what do I think that Brad Holmes and I'm not sure who JC is, but Brad Holmes, what do I think that what he would say? Yeah, I would love to be a fly on the wall. I'm sure they're hot. They look, they've been through it. This is exactly why I said you can't trust, until they do, right? And JMO was doing, like, I just, the other day, I gave him all of his flowers. And I was extremely, excited for how he's been doing. And I said, man, he crossed that threshold, and he's a new player. He's just a new dude, playing well, looks happy. Things seem to be going in the right direction, and then he slams the door in my face. All of our faces. With this stupidity. But let's put it together. Or let's put it away. My apology. Let's put it away. Good morning to everybody in the chat. We got a loaded chat this morning. We got a lot of people in. There's a lot of news going around. There's a lot of rumors going around, and I want to talk about that next. And I'm going to try to frame this morning. I'm going to have it kind of come from a place of what would I do, right? And does it make sense? How does it make sense? And what would happen to the Lions cap and in future if some of these things were done? So here's what I want to start with. I want to start with Maxx Crosby. And again, this is going to be a little bit slow because I'm going to have to do some of the work here live because I just didn't get a chance to prepare anything today. But let's talk about the actual rumors, the interest, the supposed interest from Maxx Crosby, and, someone pointing out during his locker room interview that I think it's kind of funny. They try to say the words that I say, body language and reading people's body language and the psychology of things. I think it's really hilarious how people try to say they do the same thing that you do. But anyway, good for them. The whole point I'm going to make here is when he's in the locker room and he's talking about this, what he's saying, I'm not getting that same vibe at all. At all. It does not come across to me like he's saying that he's, here to win and win only, and that he's not here for a rebuild. Let me find his exact statement here. And I don't have the video. I wish I did. I guess I do have the video. Hold on. Just came up on TikTok of all things. Let me see if I can get it open. Okay. Let's make sure we've got audio. I guess let me know if you don't have audio.
I'm not here to rebuild. I'm here to win. So, I don't know whatever that means, but yeah, I'm here to win now, and wherever I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be here to win. So that's all that matters to me. I'm not here to rebuild. I'm here to win. So, I don't know whatever that means, but yeah, I'm here to win now, and wherever I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be here to win. So that's all that matters to me.
All right. So hopefully you were able to hear that. At the end of the day, I don't believe that this is saying very much at all. I think what it is really saying, or what he's trying to say, is that he's here to win. It doesn't matter if there's a rebuild. It doesn't matter what the team is doing. Doesn't matter what doesn't matter what the organization is doing if they're going through a rebuild, or if people think they're going through a rebuild. He's there to win. He's there to play to win. That's it. That's all he's saying. No matter where he's at, No matter where he's playing, he's there to win. So that's what I take from it. And what that means to me is that he's going to play hard no matter what's going on with the team. He's there to try to win, and he's going to put it all on the line every single game, every single practice, every single week, because that's the type of player he is. I didn't take from this that when he says, I'm wherever I'm at, like he's on the move, like he's wanting to be traded. I didn't take that from that statement at all. And we may agree to disagree, but that's just not what I took from that statement. As far as Maxx Crosby, the player, do I feel like he would be a good fit in Detroit? Probably. I think that he would be a good fit. He's been through some things in his life, but I think that he's been he's made a big difference in his life too. He's really turned the corner. He's been through a lot. And I don't think that those, ghosts of the past are going to creep up on him and be a problem for his future. At least I hope not. But yeah, I think it would be a good fit with him and Aiden. The problem is money, right? So there's the big problem. And I've put this out there before, and I've asked the question, what happens to Aiden then? If you bring in Maxx Crosby or anybody else that's making darn near $25 million a season, and you're going to have to give up at least one, if not two, first-round picks is the potential, of what we're hearing his value is. I would say on the face value side of this, I think 2 first-round picks and absorbing $25 million a year is quite a bit. Now, I haven't gone to look back at, recent trades of, we could probably go back to look at, what was traded for last year. So let's see what we can find real quick here. All right, Khalil Mack, 2018. The Raiders received a first and a 6th round pick. And the Bears received Khalil Mack and a 2nd round pick and a conditional 5th round pick. And then the Bears signed Mack to a 6-year, $141 million contract extension. So Mack might have been in the final year of his contract. But even for Khalil Mack, it was a 1st and a 6th going out. And then a 1st and a 3rd going out. So 2 firsts, a 3rd and a 6th. But the Bears got Mack, a 2nd round pick, and a conditional 5th round pick in return. Who else? What other defensive ends of note? How about Richard Seymour, 2009? That's kind of too far back. Jared Allen, that one's really far back. Man, I miss Jared Allen. I really loved watching that dude play. I just don't see any other big name defensive ends. Or, Khalil Mack, outside linebacker. Recently, unless you guys can think of some. I just can't think of any right now. In the last couple of years, there were big time trades. Defensive end trades, pass rusher trades. Brian Burns. Oh, that's right. Brian Burns was traded, but he was in the last year of his deal, right? So the Giants acquired outside linebacker Brian Burns from the Panthers in exchange for So the Giants, they gave a 2nd round pick and a 5th round pick and another 5th round pick. So a 2nd and 2 5ths. Is that what I'm seeing? No, I don't think that. I mean, I would say that that's pretty close. I don't think it's too far off, but I still think that the Raiders are going to want a first to get off of Maxx Crosby. They're going to want a 1st round pick. So I'm not going to try to go into it, extremely deeply here, but what I'm going to say is that the truth of the matter with Maxx Crosby is fairly simple. The video that we just listened to and watched, I don't get that, he's thinking that he's going to move on or he's going to go play for another team. He's playing for the Raiders. He's there to win. He's there to win now. That's just his mindset. That's what I took from it. Number one. Number two, he made a statement, and I guess posted a picture on, I don't know what social media, but homecoming at the factory in Maxx Crosby Field. I mean, that's just his alma mater, right? He's just posting about it. It is no comparison or anything to do with Detroit. Nothing to do with it. I'm sure he does the same kind of post every year. And he's heavily invested into that university now with, the money that he poured in to that field. There was a statement that was made the other day, which was on heavy.com, that said that in an October 19 feature for Sports Illustrated, Boer and Macaroon say something interesting about Crosby's possible interest in coming to Detroit. Quote, according to a source with knowledge of the situation, there is natural interest from Crosby's side in joining the Lions via a trade, Boer and Macaroon stated in an article. I'm not sure what natural interest means. I mean, I think any player would naturally want to play for a contender. I think that that's a fair statement. But I don't know who the source is, and I don't know where the source is coming from. It wasn't talked about. So I'm just not going to put any weight into that at all. I think it's more fluff and fodder than anything, and unless we get a direct quote from Maxx Crosby himself, I'm just not going to believe in anything right now. But more importantly, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders had this to say. It's unfortunate today, but there's so much outside chatter that it's not true. It's not coming from any sources. It's not coming from anything. My basic thing is never to answer all of that stuff, because otherwise you get trapped into this black hole. It's just not happening. So we know that these owners and, managers and whatever, they go back and forth all the time. If the package was too big, to ignore, if it was a couple of 1st round picks and whatnot, yeah, I mean, your mind can change swiftly as an owner when you start thinking about the future. If it was 2 1st round picks, I'm sure that he would have a different mindset about it. But the owner, Davis, is saying that it's not happening, that there is no sources. Nothing has been said. And Davis is not, in the mindset of trading their best defensive performer. So if that's coming from the owner right now, that I'm going to have a little bit more, weight in. But then again, like I just said, anything can change. Anything can change. Broski Bear, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't watch anybody else, buddy. I just don't. But more than likely, yes, I would say the majority of stuff certain individuals put up are, yes, clickbait, unfortunately. But I can definitively say I don't watch other people's stuff, man. Don't have time for it. I don't even have time to prep my own show. I don't have time to waste on, other people's stuff. Let's talk about his contract for a second. Maxx Crosby's contract, $30.483 million cap hit in 2024, a $28.219 million cap hit in 2025, and a $24.823 million cap hit in 2026. Okay? If the Lions were to bring him in, not only would they have to give away their future, which we know Brad Holmes does not do, right? He does not trade away his future. He has not done it yet. I don't think that he's ever going to do it. John Doe, that was false. That was when I was at the Monday night game, or no, it was the Seattle game. One of the games. It was a Seattle game. I caught it on the way home. I was walking, trying to listen to something, see what people were saying. Just so happened to hear my name get brought up. Glad I actually turned it on. So very rarely, very, very rarely do I have time. So at any point here, you've got a huge cap hit this year. So if he were to get brought in by, let's say, November 5th. So you're looking at what, week 9. So you still have roughly half the season. So the Lions are probably going to absorb, I don't know, 15 million, probably 15 million. What are you asking me to put on the screen, buddy? What do you want on the screen, Chris? The source or the statement by Davis here? Is that what you want? Hold on. Right there. Right there in the middle. Okay, so if you were to bring him in here, let's say you've got half the season to go. It says about $15 million the Lions are going to have to pay this year. No big deal. They have the money to do it, but it's very slim. Next year, they would absorb a $28 million cap hit. Now, Aiden Hutchinson was more than likely up for an extension after this season. After 3 years, after 3 seasons, you qualify for an extension as a first-round pick. That's probably not going to happen now, right? But when it does happen, Aiden Hutchinson is probably going to get, 30+ million a year? And would you agree that, that's probably going to happen after next year? He's got to come back and play. Probably won't get extended this next, off season. I would hope not anyway, because you still need to see if the dude can come back and play and to what extent. I'm not going to, color this all, with rose-colored glasses right now. I'm not going to say that, I hear people saying that Aiden Hutchinson's going to come back for a Super Bowl run. No, he's not. I guarantee you he's not. It's not happening. It wouldn't make any sense. So he's got to come back and put the work in to show that he's still the same player to earn that kind of money. And I would hope that Brad Holmes has enough resolve and there's enough respect there mutually that one, Aiden understands that. And two, it's a business at the end of the day. They have to protect their investment, the organization, the franchise, the future, everything that they've built this far. They have to protect it. And I don't see bringing in, big high price players like this protects the investment, protects the future, protects the franchise, creates sustainability. I don't see how it does that. Now, if he was on his final year of his contract and he wasn't really wanting a contract right away, if he was said, hey, yeah, I just want to come play for a contender, finish out my contract, and whatever happens, happens. Whether you give me a contract next year or another team does, whatever. If that's truly how this player felt, yeah, all day, bring him in. But it's not going to cost you 2 first-round picks at this point. It might cost you a second or a third or even a late round pick because you're absorbing a big contract. That kind of stuff makes sense. But this is talking about bringing in a player that still has multiple years left on a deal. So Aiden Hutchinson, right now his contract for next year, I believe, is right around a $12 million cap hit. Yeah, we'll call it $12 million. And you're going to bring in Maxx Crosby, which is going to cost you $28 million. So now the defensive end position, before you do anything else, is costing you $40 million next year. Before anybody else is paid, before anybody else is brought in. You just paid Aleem, right? You paid all these other players this year. The Lions, starting next year was $70 million, but this is before all of the dead cap rolls in, right? None of the dead cap has been added to this number yet. Now, I learned that last year. That was a big mistake that I made last year, thinking the Lions were going to have all of this money. And then once the new league year rolled around, all of this dead cap was added. And then you also have to remember all the void years that will become due next year. Any voided, contract years from the past and the present, or players that are not going to make this team, or players that are not tendered or whatever, that stuff's going to be due. So this number could be closer to 50 million. I just don't know. And I'm not even going to attempt to try to figure it out. I'll just wait for it to happen. I'll wait for it to figure itself out. But we'll just go with the number 70 million. Let's just say it is what it is. Well, now you can drop it down to 40 million because of his contract. His cap hit is 28. So you got 42 million. And then you're going to have a rookie class that you're going to have to sign. Let's just call that, if you're picking towards the end of, the first round, right? Or the end of the round, let's just call it 12 million to kind of keep numbers fair. So now you're down from, 42 million to 30 million. That's what you have left now. Before any other adjustments, before the cap adjustment from the NFL, and before the dead cap and any other, voided year contracts are added. But what about the next year, 2026? If you are going to extend Aiden, after that, Aiden comes back, he plays great, has a fantastic year, Lions win the Super Bowl, you're going to extend Aiden. Well, he's going to get no less than 30. Guaranteed he's going to get no less than 30. Well, Maxx Crosby is going to get 25. So that's $55 million that you're then going to be spending on two defensive ends. But you're also going to need a defensive tackle because DJ Reader won't be under contract. And in 2026, we only have 32 players under contract. There's going to be a lot of players. Alex Anzalone will be gone. DJ Reader will be gone. He's got void years that hit that year. Carlton Davis. What about Carlton Davis? He's going to be gone after this year. We're probably going to need to sign him if we believe that, he's right for this team still after this season, which I think he is. He's going to cost you no less than 15, 20 mil a year. And then Terry and Arnold can continue to grow and develop. So you see where I'm going here? You see how it just doesn't make financial sense? You start bringing in big players like this, big name, big dollar players like this, your cap disappears. So then what happens when you're in a situation like we are right now, where the Lions need to bring in some players potentially, right? And you won't have any money. You won't have any money. Trace, just because you mentioned O-line, I mean, I haven't even thought about that right now, but yeah, our O-line still needs some help, right? We still got players that, like Taylor Decker, he's going to need some help. I know that we just re-signed him, or extended him, but we're going to need some help. Kevin Zeitler, he's only on a 1-year deal. Graham's here for a minute. Taylor's here for a minute. I think Ragnow's here for another year or so. Penay's here for a while, but we're going to need a right guard. Now, if the draft picks haven't worked out yet, might have to bring somebody in. Offensive linemen aren't cheap. Tim Patrick is on, these guys are on, 1-year deals, right? So what if we need to sign those guys? I think Khalif Raymond is at the end of his deal. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, yes, there's still a lot more players on this team that need to be signed. You've got Melifonwu, Kirby Joseph. What are you going to do with those players? They need to be re-signed. What about Levi? What about Josh Paschal? Have they played well enough that you feel comfortable about, bringing them back on a longer-term deal? I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but the point that I'm trying to make here is Brad Holmes does one thing and one thing very well. I mean, he does more than one thing, but he does one thing very well. Him and Dan keep the nucleus, the fabric of this team together. They know the longer that the coaches stay in place, the longer that the players stay in place, the better the team is going to be. You have 10 to 15% of roster attrition every year. It's natural. It happens. But if we start churning 20, 30, 40%, then our team is not going to be as tight. You almost have to rebuild everything, the chemistry all over again every year. So when you build a team and it's, you build it for the future and you build its sustainability, you're going to keep your core players close, right? You're going to keep them around. And that's what Brad Holmes is doing right now. I just don't see where bringing in a big contract that has multiple years left on it makes sense. Here's the out, though. Here's the out. So there's all the negative. Here's the out. And again, I'm not a contract professional. Like NFL contracts are so convoluted as it is. And we only know, a surface level of what these contracts, are. We know some numbers, but there's so much more involved. He doesn't have any guaranteed money in 25 and 26. But again, I don't know how these contracts, I don't know how his contract is written. Now, all the signing bonuses and all that stuff, that'll all get kicked back to Las Vegas. The Lions or any team that, does pick up a player like this, they're only going to take the meat of the contract, into their cap situation. But there's no guaranteed money in 25 and 26. So there's the potential out that you could let them go. I'm sure there's still going to be some sort of a financial implication with doing that. But I think there's the potential out. And I don't think that Brad Holmes wants to do that. I mean, I can't imagine that you'd want to bring in a player like that for half a season and then turn around and just get rid of him. That's another thing that Brad Holmes has not shown us that he wants to do. He wants to bring guys in, have them play well, and then reward them. We haven't seen this side of Brad Holmes yet. There's another good point. Fred Peterson, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, buddy. Appreciate you. He just said Jamo's due too. How does the suspension affect him? Yeah, Jamo's in a box, man. And I don't know, when the Lions are going to want to extend him, if they're going to extend him. Oh, I was going to have a guest on this morning. He just texted me that they got internet back. Let me get him a link real quick. Does anything that I'm saying make sense? I mean, yeah, I'll turn ads off, Trace. My bad. I got to talking. Let's get these ads off. Appreciate you guys, but let's get these likes up, yeah? We trade likes for ads on this channel. We love to go ad free, so you guys can have a seamless, interaction with the chat and with the show, and have some fun with it without these ads. So while you're live, obviously, that's the best way to get in and watch these. And it helps us get out to more Lions fans. It does a real good job with the algorithm. So does what I'm saying make any sense? You know, as far as you sign a big money free agent, number one, it's going to impact your team for the foreseeable future, right? And I'm not saying that I'm against, you know, having a big name free agent that costs a lot of money. I'm not against it. I just don't see where it's going to fit. But we are kind of like, we have a big need. You know, the Lions have a big need. And I'm just wondering, where is that player going to come from? And I think that Za'Darius Smith kind of makes more sense. Now, that is a player that has said, outwardly stated, that he would be excited to play for the Lions. So that is somebody that, you know, I would say definitively, you know, there's some legs there. There's some legs with that rumor because he said it himself. Excuse me for just a moment. Let me try to get this set up so I want to bring Jared in this morning. I want to talk about the environment at Minnesota. So he was there, I believe, with his son. I'm not sure who else was with him, but want to talk about the environment at Minnesota, you know, how the game went from his view, right? And just have a conversation. I'm sure he's going to have some things to add about, you know, the trade deadline situation. And, you know, look, we do need some players. I mean, but I will say this. I was pleasantly surprised with how well the defense played this weekend. And I mean, I'm surprised, but not surprised. I said it would happen prior to the game, right? During the pregame shows, I said it would happen, but I didn't think that they would play that well. Now, the score may not dictate, you know, what we were hoping would a little bit more separation, but some of that was due to the offense and their failure, you know, with a fumble or whatever. So I will say that I was pleasantly surprised, but at the same time, was I really surprised because this is a deep team. We're not going to get, you know, as many pressures as we did when Aiden was here, but what we have now seen is more efficiency. So 15 pressures on 4 sacks is a much higher efficiency rate than 27 pressures on 2 or 3 sacks. It's a big difference. We're getting home, you know, more efficiently. And so for me, that makes a whole lot more sense. So great job by the Lions this weekend, but Aiden's, you know, always going to be missed. All right, so I'm going to move off of Maxx Crosby. So the truth behind the trade right now for Maxx Crosby is, does he have interest? There is not one statement out there that states that he has said he wanted to come to the Detroit Lions. The owner, Mark Davis, has come out in defense of his own team and stated also that this is just rumors. Like, there's no legs to this stuff. Wow, super shout out to Steve K. He just gifted 10 Detroit Lions memberships to all of these random people that are now going to have memberships. Jody Carithers, Andrew Isham, Phoenix, Brandy Coffee, Dan Orlovsky's Tong, Cedric Sweeney, Christopher Dubé, Art Thompson, Gretchen Gasitz, Midona, probably butchered your name, I apologize, and Common Sense, which is really hard to get, right? It's really hard to have. JMO, get some common sense. Appreciate you, Steve K, man. Way to stand up for the channel. And of course, all of the donations that come into the channel go to Rocked On Cancer Foundation. We'll get you a JMO TD this morning because we're going to be missing those the next 2 weeks.
Jameson makes the catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
Nice work, Steve. Appreciate you, buddy. Anyway, I hope what I'm saying is making sense here. You know, I'm not trying to poo-poo in your Cheerios this morning. I'm not, you know, definitely not SOL type of person, but I just want to have real conversation, you know, and not all of this clickbait article stuff or clickbait, you know, video stuff. Like, let's be real with it for a moment. when I spoke about JJ Watt, I framed that video very intently that yes, he's been ready. He's been staying ready. Is there an opportunity now for him to become a Detroit Lion? Maybe. He's always said that he would only play for the Texans. But it was a conversation, right? It wasn't me saying that he was going to come to the Lions or, said that he wanted to come to the Lions or whatever. He had a conversation about the Lions. And so there was some merit to it and listening to what he had to say. With this Maxx Crosby stuff, look, there's connections. There's connections to all these players to, states that they grew up in or, places where they went to college or whatever. You can find commonality with a lot of these players and make an excuse for any one of these players that, there's a reason why they should join this team or that team. Right. But I don't see it. Right now, this is just a bunch of rumor. It's just people are wishing and wanting and trying to stoke the flames here. And maybe they're just trying to stoke the flames to get Maxx Crosby to say, hey, maybe I do want to do this. But Mark Davis still has to be able to, have the want and the willingness to trade him. So I'm going to move off that one. I do think that Za'Darius Smith makes a little bit more sense. The Browns are in trouble big time. Their season is in jeopardy. Now, he has a bunch of void years following his contract. And he's only under contract for 24 and 25 is the way I understand it. So that one's not as bad. It's still a hefty cap number, but we're talking, $5.2 million this year and $9.5 million next year. And then he's got a $15.8 million, cap hit in 2026. So all in for the next 2 seasons, he would get about $15 million a season. Could the Lions bring somebody in like him and restructure his contract and make it make sense? They could. It would a much lower cap hit by an average of about $10 million per season than a Maxx Crosby. He's got pretty solid production, and you're only investing into this player for 2 seasons, this season and next season. That does give you an out next year. He doesn't have any guaranteed money. But it also gives you an out where you could also potentially retrade that individual because his contract wouldn't be that crazy. I don't believe that this is a first-round draft pick that you would have to give up for Za'Darius Smith. He's 32 years old, so yeah, he's a little beyond his age. But he's still impactful, right? He still plays at a high level. And he's probably looking to win a ring. So why not play for a contender? So that's where Za'Darius Smith does make a lot more sense. Contract-wise, type of player, size of the player. His body, everything's perfect, as far as him, the player itself. Trying to get Jared in here while I'm talking. It's not working so well. Give me 1 second. Let me get to a quick sponsor here, and we'll be right back.
The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to SportsSpider.com, that's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportsSpider.com today, right after the show.
All right, we got Jared in. Jared, I don't know if you've got audio from me, but good morning.
Good morning. How are you, man?
All right, we do got audio. I'm doing good. So I'm just having a conversation. I don't know if you picked up on any of it, but I was talking about the Maxx Crosby rumors, and how I just kind of went through it all, right? I mean, Davis said it's not happened. It's just a bunch of rumors. There's nothing really going there. I talked about the Maxx Crosby video where he says that, no matter where he is, he wants to win. He's in win now mode. He's not a rebuild, guy. And what I took from that is he's just the kind of player that he's always in win now mode. It doesn't matter what the team is doing or what the organization is doing. He's going to go win. That's his job, is to win, whether you call it a rebuild or not. So I didn't really take that the comment wherever I am meant that he wanted to go play for the Detroit Lions, which is kind of being touted all over the internet in that direction. And then I also mentioned how Za'Darius Smith made a lot more sense. And I walked through the contracts and in how, you're looking at big jumps in contracts and what happens to Aiden when he gets extended. And what about all the other players that we still have left to extend and kind of keep this core together? So it just doesn't make sense to bring in a high price free agent. So I guess first I'd like to get your quick thoughts on that subject, where, kind of where you land. And then let's talk about Minnesota.
Yeah, so not much change on that topic from me since last week, but I think people are going to hear what they want to hear. They're going to try to find every nugget they can to turn that into what they want to hear. But what else is he supposed to say? I'm really looking forward to this rebuild. Nobody's going to say that, right? So I don't think anything's changed. I think deep down, when Crosby lays his head on his pillow at night, does he want to be in Detroit? Yes, he does. This is home. He's even said before, if there was any other place he'd play up besides Vegas, it would be Detroit. Those are the things that you think about, but it's not really up to him. And the Raiders have said they're not trading him, and the Lions aren't going to pay what the Raiders are going to want. Could he pull a Devontae Adams and hey, gosh, my ankle hurts. There's the only place that it's going to feel better is the doctors at University of Michigan Hospital. I'm going to have to go there to feel better. Yeah. He could, but I again, the contract still becomes an issue unless he says, "Hey, rip up that contract. I'll take 60% of that and go to Detroit." Then yeah, but this is not going to happen. Crosby is not going to be a Detroit Lion. I'm fairly certain of that.
Yeah, it's Brent. Thank you, Brenton Hickman. Thank you for your comment. I think I got it fixed right away. I would agree, man. But maybe those cold tubs just hit different in Ann Arbor. I don't know.
He could just go sit outside pretty soon. So I don't know. I don't think. I think he deep down, when he's sitting there having a conversation with his wife, he's probably saying, "Man, it'd be so great to be in Detroit," but it's not up to him, unfortunately.
Yeah. Za'Darius Smith. So I don't remember what you said last week, but when I look at, players that would make some sense, I mean, he's still playing at a high level. His contract is about $10 million less on average, from a player like Maxx Crosby. And he's only under contract for this year and next year with no guaranteed salary next year. All the void years, all the bonuses, and that's all going to hit the team that he's being traded from. And with the Browns being in the position they are in, it makes sense that they're probably going to move off of somebody. I'm hesitant to think that Myles Garrett is that individual. I mean, he's been the most consistent pass rusher in the league for as long as he's been in it. And I think that is a very muddy contract to try to offload. Not saying that it couldn't be done, but it is a muddy situation. And I don't know of anyone that's really going to want to pay what the Browns are probably looking to get, because they're going to try to recoup as much of this. I mean, Deshaun Watson's contract is such a mess. I don't know if you saw the numbers that came out, but he's pretty much owed $150 million between this year and next year, even sitting out, or if they cut him, which is crazy numbers. Anyway, Za'Darius Smith, what do you think about that?
Yeah, last week, that was one of the names we talked about that I felt fit more into what Brad Holmes would do. He's not. You think about the things that he's done in the past. He goes out and he finds more of the proven veterans who aren't top of the line. We're not It's not like going out and giving like the Trey Flowers contract we did a few years ago, right? It's a risk-free deal. He's indicated he wants to be there. He probably shouldn't have said what he did in the media. I'm sure it's probably frowned upon, both from the Browns and the NFL, but he's, where he wants to be. He's got familiarity with the division, which is helpful. And you're right, Cleveland right now isn't going anywhere. But it's also one of those things where maybe they get a bump from Deshaun Watson going out, and they may want to hold on to at least their players one more week to see how that plays out. But I think Za'Darius Smith is a realistic, very realistic possibility because he checks a lot of the boxes. He just checks the boxes of the risk-free contract, proven veteran, familiarity with the division. What we don't know, and I'm sure there's things out there we can look into, but is he one of Detroit's guys, right? I listened to Campbell's press conference yesterday and just the type of people he brings in. And he says he looks at it through the lens of when he was a player, what kind of teammates did he want? Right. And he listed off probably 20 guys where he was just like, those are the kind of teammates I wanted. And those are the types of players we look for. Now, does he check that box? I don't know that. I mean, it'd be hard to speculate whether or not he's going to check that box. But talent-wise, contract-wise, all that stuff makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, out of all the players that are out there, I would say that he adds an immediate impact to this team.
And it's the right defense too, because you got the Harold Landry's who's in a 3-4, a couple of the other ones, but who would certainly check some of the boxes. But he checks Za'Darius Smith with being in the 4-3, like that checks out. Yeah,
isn't Jim Schwartz the D coordinator over there?
He is,
isn't he?
Yep.
Oh, Jimmy.
Dirty Jim Schwartz.
Huh?
I said Dirty Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, there you go. So here's the thing that, Dan Campbell said. He said, an area yesterday, I believe this was yesterday, he said that we need a little bit more pressure, whether that's somebody in-house, we do things a little different, or it is a trade. He said that Brad is still looking at everything right now. It's not like we turned our back on that and nobody's looking, or anything. So we'll find it. But until that time, we're going to find whatever we need here. If we need to try out a couple of guys, we still have Isaiah Thomas. We've got Mitchell Agood. We've got Al Kawad Muhammad that we brought in. So we may give those guys a go. We're open to looking for anything we can. So I think at the end of the day, the Lions are not closed-minded here. And that's the one thing that I've always said is it's not about them not wanting to bring somebody in. It just has to fit, right? It has to fit the team. It has to fit the defense. It has to fit everything. And super shout out here to Anthony Ross, $10 super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, please put this towards the fund. Great show. Well, I appreciate you as a great member of the audience this morning. Appreciate you being here, buddy. Let's get you a JMO. No, we'll get you a Gibbs TD this morning.
Goff takes the snap, gives to Gibbs. Gibbs bounces through a hole. There it goes outside 20. Gibbs 15. Gibbs 10. Angling to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby, what a run.
All right. Appreciate you, Anthony, again, man. Thanks for joining the show this morning. So let's talk Minnesota for a minute here. You were at the game. Who did you bring with you? Where were you sitting? I saw you were on the field for a moment there, passing to your son in the end zone. Just to kind of explain the day, man.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Yeah, so my son turned 7 this year, and I always told him when he turned 7, I felt he was old enough to go on an away road trip with me. Him and I overnight on a plane, all that stuff. He's been to a lot of home games, but he's been to the Bears game once. But this was the kind of a first big one for him. He's old enough to sit through the game. He's into the game. He knows the game. And so it was a lot of fun. So he and I had a father-son weekend where we flew up Friday night, We did the Mall of America on Saturday. We did a stadium tour of the stadium, which I thought he would, excuse me, I thought he'd appreciate that. And part of that was some time on the field, about 30 minutes on the field to throw passes, kick field goals, all that fun stuff. And
Nice.
so we did that. We sat in what they call the VWO, which is, I'm assuming it's the Viking World Order, but I could be wrong. But it's the VWO, which is a section for what I would call the most passionate of the Vikings fans. And so, so he got a kick out of the costumes and all the people and everything else. We went with some mutual friends of ours, Megan, Dre, and a few of those people, and Leah. Crack was in our section, and there was a bunch of people from our group. And so we were in the end zone near the Lions tunnel, which is typically where we'll try to find ourselves a spot. But it was a really dynamic, loud, exciting atmosphere, I would say. I've been to that stadium a few times. I think this particular time you could feel something a little bit different. This was a big game, and they saw this as a very big game as well. And so it was loud. In fact, we halfway through the first quarter had to go to guest services and get my 7-year-old some earplugs, something he hasn't really had to do before. And so just to give you an idea, like these people were into it. And a lot of it was probably the section we were sitting in, because we were sitting in with the most passionate of those Vikings fans. It was hard to even get to your seat because you got to walk through all the costumes and props that they have and their pointy hats and everything else. But the atmosphere was electric. It's a great stadium. If anybody's looking to go on a pretty easy road trip game, Minnesota's a really good one. The flight's easy if you're coming from Michigan, Grand Rapids, or Detroit, obviously. Public transportation from the airport to downtown, right to the stadium and back. It's an easy walkable stadium, right in the middle of downtown, and all the bars, the entertainment stuff. And the stadium itself is beautiful. I always say and I've been to 25 of the 32 existing stadiums, and I've been to the old stadium in San Diego and the old stadium in Atlanta. And I think this and SoFi are the nicest ones I've been to. Just if you're looking at everything all together, just the seats aren't packed on one another. Everything's new, everything's fresh, and just it's easy to get to. It's easy to maneuver. It's a really nice atmosphere to watch a game.
I'm going to come back to what you were just talking about in 1 second. I just want to shout out Twin Peaks here for a moment. A $10 super chat says, I think the Lions should grab 2, Smith and Keon White. Well, Twin Peaks, I appreciate you donating this morning. Of course, all the donations go to Rockdown Cancer Foundation. Appreciate you. I haven't done any research on Keon White. I don't know anything about that individual. To be honest with you, maybe I'll look into it a little bit later this afternoon. But if there's something there,
these are the Patriots or the Bills. I can't remember. I think he's.
I wouldn't even know.
Patriots.
I can't say that I've heard of the player. But Twin Peaks, again, thank you so much for your donation this morning. We'll get you a Laporta TD because we've been missing those this year.
Back looking deep downfield, got a man wide open. It is Sam Laporta. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 45 yards on the connection, and the Lions are back in front.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to have such a great weekend with your son and enjoy a win. So let me ask you this. It's the Lions' first possession. You find out that Dan Campbell's going for it on 4th down, and they completely blow the play. Germ doesn't get the ball out to Vaki, and Minnesota takes over on the 40-yard line or something like that. And, a couple plays later, Aaron Jones is off and running to the races into the end zone. So I can imagine that the stadium was going nuts. And, if you could put a percentage of Lions fans to Vikings fans, how well did we show up?
I mean, we've been showing up really well on the road. I think the road games are almost even more fun than the home games in some ways because we show up so well. I think with the game being as big as it was, there's probably fewer. I've seen stadiums that are 40%. Right. I would say 20 to 25%.
Well, that's still pretty big.
Would be, it was still a good showing. Like it was still anywhere you looked, you were not far from a Lions fan in that stadium.
Wow.
At all. There was a row of them, not the row in front of us, but the row before in front of them. There was 4 there. There was 2 down the end of the row. We looked back in the higher end of that section, and it was probably 40% there. It's 40% in the corners. And then, I mean, there's clusters, but there was by and large a very, very good showing for a matchup between two. It was for the division lead, really, right? So for as big of a matchup as this was, to still get 25%, just my estimation, was pretty good. And you could hear the "Let's Go Lion" chants, you could hear the Jared Goff chants, and they were quickly drowned out by that stupid horn that they have. As soon as they heard those picking up, they found a reason to blow the horn.
Yeah.
So they were. I almost felt like that stadium was prepared for that. And I think that's
what's crazy is I've been to a couple of stadiums now where they'll use blow horns or some sort of a noise maker, and I always thought that those were not allowed into stadiums. When you read the NFL rules, it states certain things, but I think each stadium, I guess, kind of can allow certain things or not. Why are we not doing that at Ford Field? Nobody at Ford Field ever brings noisemakers. Why are we not bringing them?
Well, I think when I say blow the horn, it's the stadium horn that they have there.
No, but there's Minnesota fans that have those big horns that they blow into.
Oh, yeah.
In the stadium.
I didn't see any of those. But yeah, I think there's got to be something. Because like in college, you got was it Mississippi State has the cowbell? Everybody's hitting the cowbells.
That's
stuff.
College, though. I think that they love that environment.
But I haven't seen anything in the NFL with noisemakers. So I've
seen it at KC when we were there. They had these little. I call them like the Mexican party jumpers, man. They're just these weird. It's like a Mexican noisemaker. I don't know what else to call it. But it makes like a whiny noise, and they spin it, and it makes a little whiny noise. But at Minnesota, you've got a few of the guys there that are all dressed up that have the big horn that they blow into. It's just a woo or whatever sound that is. I've seen
pretty
them.
Good. It's pretty good because we sat right up the horn. The big horn for the stadium was right up kind of behind us, and when they blow that thing on third downs or whatever else, it gets everybody on their feet. And
yeah, we need to do better in Ford Field. We need more traditions or okay. So let me get way off topic. Before I do, Twin Peaks, welcome to the Lions faithful. I just saw that we got a new member that just joined. Appreciate that. Here you go. So when I was at the NFC Championship game, do you remember when they call the players onto the field right during the very beginning of the game? They're calling the 49ers out to the field, and every time like a player would come out, they would have some sort of a chant for that player.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have anything cool like that.
No.
We need some cool stuff. So we got to figure it out.
We've come a long way in our production at the stadium, I would say. The team's done a nice job in building up that production pregame with the Eminem walk-in songs and things like that. But no, we have not established that differentiator, if you will, at Ford Field. I mean, I think our crowd is fantastic. The environment's great, but we don't have like the chants or the certain like more the traditions. I don't even know if we want to go back to traditions. We got to develop a new one, right?
Yeah, there you go. We got to have people push it, though. We have to figure out what it is, and we have to have people push it. But so I want to go back to, your time in the game, to, I guess, kind of take us through the ebbs and the flows and, I guess from quarter to quarter, what you were feeling, I really want to know when we scored 21 unanswered, like, was the place quiet? Did it ever get quiet?
It got quieter. Well, when we got up halfway, it was 10-0 when we went and got our the earplugs for my son, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I told him was, and because this is again, if you didn't hear at the beginning, like, it was his first away game, and he's been to a lot of Lions games. He's 7, so he didn't necessarily like the fact that there was the majority of the people cheering against us. That was just very different to him. Like, he's never been around people who cheered against our team.
Right.
And so he was just kind of like taken aback by that. And I said, listen, buddy, he's like, there's yelling in my ear. And it's when I'm mad, when we don't do something well. And I said, listen, the best way to get a crowd to be more quiet is we have to play better. Right. Because then it kind of takes them out of the game a little bit. And when we got the earplugs, right when we got back to our seat is when the Amon-Ra touchdown happened, right? And so I think there wasn't many instances after that he really needed them for, because it kind of took the crowd out of the game. Obviously, it was sort of the energy was high and the noise was high at the beginning, and there was this bit of a lull in the middle of the game, and then it got high again at the end as things started to get close down the stretch. But after the not so much after the Aaron Jones touchdown. I think at the Aaron Jones touchdown, it was like, hey, 7-0. Okay, like, not the end of the world. We get a whole game ahead of us here. I'm not sure what he saw in the fake field goal. It was, or the fake punt. We were kind of looking down the field at him, and as soon as he started running to the right, like, you just saw purple everywhere. Like, you knew he wasn't going to get it immediately.
Well, he didn't even attempt to pitch it out.
He couldn't. I honestly don't think he could have, because there was so much purple that was bearing down on it. It was almost like that would have been more risky, because like they were all over that thing. And if that pitch they were on him fast. And if that pitch didn't come through, like, that could have been 6 right there. But the field goal, when it was 10-0, I'm thinking to myself, did we come here for this? Like, is this how this is going to go? Like, I did not have a good feeling at 10-0. I knew there was a lot of game left, but once we got the touchdown to Amon-Ra, and it's like, okay, here we're right back in. This game it's a brand new ball game, because even when you're down 3, you're like, this is pretty much this. We're good. We're good. As long as we didn't go down 13-17-0, I think we were able to head that off right away. And what we kept saying amongst our group in the seats is, hey, Minnesota always starts strong. They were up, was it 21-28 or whatever it was on Green Bay out of the gate. Every game this year, the Vikings have started off very strong. The fans around us said, yeah, like we're due to break that curse. Like, they knew that. They're like, okay, yeah, it's 10-0, but we're used to this, and we've almost blown these leads before. And so that was almost like between Lions and Vikings fans, a known thing. It's like, all right, you guys always start strong. This isn't anything new. And so there was always a decent amount of confidence we could bounce back.
So there was obviously a lot of points throughout this game that you could feel like, man, Lions got it.
Mm-hmm.
Demo fumbles.
Yep.
What happens? What happens in that stadium? I mean, he fumbles, they return it. We get one back, right? But Brian Branches gets called back.
Yeah, and that was an interesting one. So the Demo fumble obviously set off, a firestorm of activity in that stadium, and
I bet
the energy was really high, and it was a blow. The Branch fumble, interestingly enough, it took a long time for them to review that. And when they zoomed in, they didn't show it a lot in the stadium, because when they did show it, we wasn't sure if his heel was down.
Yeah, they really looked at that one for a long time.
Long time. And I think as the longer they looked at it, I think even the Minnesota fans, and by the way, just to say this, Minnesota fans are great. They're some of the best that I've experienced in the 25, 26 stadiums I've been to. They're passionate, but they're respectful. They're not rude. They're knowledgeable. So they're great fans. And they even said, I don't think there's enough to overturn it. I think it's going to be a touchdown. And I think everybody thought that was going to be the case, but it took them so long. And if it takes it that long, is there really clear and indisputable evidence? I don't think so either. But even the Vikings fans, I think were surprised that they let that one stand. Now, I heard from the people watching TV that they were very clear. Oh yeah, this is definitely coming back. But nobody in the stadium felt that. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, even watching it from home, live, doing my live stream, I couldn't tell definitively, from what I was seeing. I only had the one Fox views, whatever they were showing us. But the more you saw it later, yeah, I mean, if you go by the rule, it has to be definitive to overturn. I would say that it was not definitive. But if you go by, was it out of bounds? Yeah, it's probably out of bounds.
Yeah, and the how the stadiums will link up to what the official's watching, so you can actually see on the big screen where he's zooming in, what he's looking at, what angle he's looking at. So they kind of mirror up what the official's doing versus the big screen, and you could tell where he was zooming in, where he was looking. And he was trying to piece things together as to when did the ball come loose. And he was going back and forth a lot, checking this, zooming in here, zooming back out, checking where the ball came loose, going back to this view. So you could tell he was looking at a lot of different things, trying to piece this play together. And as much as he was going back and forth and zooming and trying to find different angles, you could tell he was looking to try to figure this out. And so it wasn't cut and dry. So I think we were that close to really, in my opinion, kind of putting the nail in the coffin then. I think that would have been a very deflating, given where we were in the game and how the game was going. I think that would have been a very deflating piece for Minnesota.
Well, it wasn't, but you know what? The Lions still hung on. So give me your honest opinion here. I don't know if we talked about it last week before the game, but did you think the Lions had a chance entering this game? Did you really think that we had a chance given how hot, Minnesota was, the injury front, the way that it's lined up? Now Aiden Hutchinson's out, our first game without Aiden. Did you really feel like we had a chance to win this game? And then I guess after the game, how did you feel about our defense? And I'm going to run through some grades real quick. So Brian Branch, 92.7. This dude is incredible at what he does.
It's awesome.
87.1 for Trevor Nowaske, a guy that we did not want to lose last year. We lost, and now we got him back. Lions better not let him go. Alex Anzalone, 78.2. Malcolm Rodriguez, 75.5. Jack Campbell, 73.9. Jalen Reeves-Maben, 70.6. Here's the funny part. All of our linebackers were the highest rated players on this team for that game. Our linebackers played incredibly well. So it's almost like they took the challenge, like, okay, Minnesota, I see what you got. You got a hell of a cast of linebackers over there. We're going to come bring ours today. We're going to match up mano a mano. We're going to see who has a better day today. And this was a game where I felt that, hey, if the Lions are going to play well, we've got to have better linebacker play. We need to blitz some linebackers. That's where we're going to be able to get to the quarterback, provide some pressure. And they did. And it worked. Terry and Arnold, he was the 7th best defender for the Lions on the day with a 65.7, tackling 76.9, coverage grade 70.2. Pretty solid day for him. And then, in the middle of the pack, Ali McNeil towards the bottom end there, Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, DJ Reader apparently had a very poor day all over the place, except for pass rush. Pass rush, he did really well. And Carlton Davis, I guess, had a poor day, which doesn't make sense to me when you watch the game. I didn't see where he had a bad day. So back to my question. Did you feel like we had a chance after the game? How well do you think our defense played, and do we need to fill some holes here?
Yes, I did think we had a chance. I thought when Hutch got hurt, I thought it was going to be a bigger challenge, but I did think we had a shot. I think the quick passing game was going to have to be important, and I think especially when you're going against Brian Flores, like you've got to get passes out quick. A couple things that I like, so I didn't realize our linebackers played that well. I hadn't seen any of the grades or anything like that. There was one particular play I do remember watching. It was Justin Jefferson got a pass on the outside, and somebody had locked up Jack Campbell blocking out in front. And I remember, and part of this was probably he guessed right, but he shed the block to the right, and Jefferson happens to go to his left. And so he shed the block and then just hit Jefferson right there and stopped him, right? I thought that was a great play by Campbell in a tough situation. But yeah, no, I felt like if you can withstand that first surge that Minnesota tends to have with their scripted plays, like they're not a great second half team either. And so in fact, I picked the Lions, especially getting the 3 points in the spread. Like I was going to take that all day. So I knew it would be a good game, but the what gives you that little bit of apprehension or not knowing is just what was the team going to look like without Hutchinson. And Campbell said it yesterday. He's pleased with the effort that the guys who had to step up gave, but he was also very clear in his press conference, we need to do a better job. We need to get more out of that position. And so I think the guys stepped up. And I think if Hutchinson plays, I think that's I don't want to say an easy win, but I think that's a touchdown or more win for us, is my opinion.
You know, I mean, we did go up against two really, really solid bookends. I mean, they're offensive tackles, and shout out to somebody in the chat who just kind of said the same thing. Look, their tackles are really good over there. Their guards, not so much. And so I expected a lot of interior work to get done, which is what I've been banking this whole season on anyway, is the fact that we rebuilt the center of our defense and the back end of our defense, which is going to help immensely all over the field for the defense. But to kind of piggyback off what you're saying there, you know, about Dan Campbell, you know, saying that we need more, right? We do need more, whether it's internal or external through a trade. You can say that every team always needs more. It takes more. So it's going to take one more to probably, you know, help out this team. Dan Campbell also said this. He said that everything's got to be right. And honestly, where we are at now, we are not in a hurry. He says, I mean, I believe in the guys that are here. I believe in that D line. Doesn't mean we're not looking. Doesn't mean that we're not evaluating. Brad that's his job, and he's good at it, and we'll take it as it comes. But our eyes are open, and we want to make sure that we have what we need here. So I firmly believe that the Lions are on the prowl. You know, they're scanning. You've got to look at the bottom feeders, right? The Giants. Doubtful the Rams are going to do anything. The Panthers, you know, another team that, you know, is there somebody there that you can get something done with? The Patriots. I mean, the Jets are even starting to fall away now to the point where it almost makes sense that they're going to do something. The Raiders.
You mentioned something a few minutes ago, and I love going to these games, but a lot of times you also you miss a lot of things because you're not usually on your phone. You're not really checking stats. Aleem McNeil had a quiet game. I don't see anything for Aleem McNeil.
Aleem was 9th on the Lions. He had 3 pressures.
No tackles. Okay.
Yeah, 3 pressures though.
Okay.
So when you look at the pressures, we had 15, right, which is about average for a team. And we had the majority of them through the center of the defense. It looks like DJ Reader had 2, Aleem had 3. So one third came through the middle. And then if you look at the rest, though, Trevor Nowaske, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, they made up for another third.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jalen Reeves-Maben. So there's 6. So 11 of our pressures came through the center of the defense. You know, our interior work, because a lot of the linebackers are rushing through the middle, or at least between the tackles.
Yeah.
So 11 out of 15 pressures came from the middle of the defense. And then, you know, a couple of our edge guys, you know, like Josh Paschal, James Houston, they both had a pair. Who else had one? I thought someone else had one too, but.
Yeah, because he just had a quiet day. Statistically, I didn't see anything on, but I wasn't looking at like the second level stats on that. Okay.
You know, so yesterday, I don't know if you caught what I played yesterday, but Lomas Brown. So after the game, Lomas Brown always gets on, right? And they do the post game recap. And he had something really interesting to say about Josh Paschal. I wonder if I still have it queued up, but he had mentioned that, you know, you're going to see where he's not going to light up the stat sheet. And he said that he's going to completely ignore the sack numbers. They don't matter. What matters is what he does and how he affects the game. And you're not going to be able to see that in the stat lines all the time. And that is something that I've always stuck to here, that I've always said about certain players, you know, whether it's a DJ Reader, to your point, an Aleem McNeil, you know, in this game, maybe it didn't show up in the stat line, but what does the eye test tell us? You know, what did he do on the field? Like, was he shedding blocks? Was he able to penetrate? Was he taking on double teams? Was he freeing up a linebacker? Did it free up DJ? I mean, DJ Reader almost got a sack. He almost got in real quick and got a sack, but didn't quite happen. But that's what I'm looking for. It's exactly what Lomas Brown was talking about, is sometimes you just have to watch the game, which we're going to do tonight at 8 p.m. For the members that have joined. 8 p.m. is tape review tonight, game film. So we'll see. You know, we'll see some of those things. Where did they show up in the game that doesn't show up in the stat line? And, you know, we call those guys, you know, I like to call them fabric guys or the glue guys, you know, the guys that just kind of do everything that, you know, nobody else is paying attention to. But without them, a lot of the other stuff doesn't happen. So
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I recorded the game on Sunday, but I have not watched it. I just still trying to recover from the late night flight home Sunday. But when you're at the games too, like there's so many more things that divert your attention, right? And so it's hard to pick up on those little things. So that's good to know that he did have some pressures. He was making an impact up the middle. And then also where our seats were, it was a little bit difficult to see, you know, because when you're looking at down the field, it's a little harder to see where everybody's at. So you
guys are pretty close though, right? You were up there.
We were,
I saw some photos of you guys.
We were row 15.
Yeah. It's pretty close,
yeah.
Man.
So we were down, so which makes it even in some respect more difficult to see when you're down on an end. Looking down the field, it's harder to see kind of all the things that are going on, unless they're happening right in front of you. Which we did have. We did have the Gibbs touchdown, the St. Brown touchdown. All that was right in front of us.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about Trevor Nowaske. There's a audience member in here wanted to talk about Trevor Nowaske today for a minute. So I mean, I'll give you a brief overview. I'm going to take something from Jeff Risdon here. So he was talking about Trevor Nowaske just 5 days ago, and he addressed, you know, the Detroit Lions Sam linebacker Derek Barnes that was lost for the season in week 4. The Lions quickly obviously went to Trevor Nowaske as, you know, the first opportunity to kind of get him up, get him going to replace Derek Barnes. Now, Nowaske was reclaimed earlier this year after being poached from Detroit by the Cardinals a year ago. And he was practicing in that Sam role with the Cardinals. So that really helped Nowaske's development when the Lions had an opportunity to poach him back, that he's already had some experience. Nowaske played 29 snaps in Dallas of a possible 69 snaps, which is pretty solid. I mean, almost half. And according to this article, he watched all 29, focusing on 53 and how he performed on each one. And he evaluated Nowaske on every snap, giving him a plus for a positive play and a minus for a poor one. Not every play earns a plus or a minus. And here's what he took away. Nowaske didn't play in the first 2 defensive series, as the Cowboys were almost exclusively in 10 personnel or 11 personnel. And the Lions defense typically never uses the Sam linebacker or the third linebacker against those groupings. Dallas opened its third drive with 13 personnel, and then that's where Nowaske was brought into the field. So at the end of the day, where's his grade? I want to see his grade. I think he said that he was going to grade him and then didn't give us a grade. Well, at the end of the day, he did a good job. I mean, if you go back and watch the Cowboys game, which we did, we reviewed it, you'll see where Nowaske shows up quite a bit. He's been playing great. What do you think about Nowaske so far this year?
Local kid. He's from the Plymouth Canton area, Saginaw Valley State, football player. Like, that's what they care about. I think the other thing that they are looking at with Nowaske is, like, the flexibility of players to play multiple roles on a team is important. And from at least from what I recall, I'm trying to find something on this now. I think he's a very good special teams player. And so to be able to have somebody like that on special teams is important. I think the flexibility and the positional flexibility, I think, is important for our defense, because it allows us to move pieces around in various ways. And Nowaske, young, I think it's only the 2nd or 3rd year, isn't it? I think he's
Second
pretty
year.
young.
Second
year. Yeah. And so he's got a lot of football left.
He was at UDFA last year.
Yeah.
UDFA.
Yeah. And you've already seen teams wanting to bring him in. I think he was one of the final cut downs for the Cardinals, if I'm remembering. It was towards the end of the preseason. So he almost made the Cardinals. And then, just given what we knew about him from last year, and then, wanting to make room on the special team side, like, I think it's a good fit. The 6'3", 237, I'm seeing. Is that right? We'll call him 6'3", 240.
It's a great size for a linebacker.
It's a great size for a linebacker, and I think the biggest thing when you have a UDFA 6'3", 240 from a college like Saginaw Valley State is, can they hold up against NFL players? And he's proven that. His athleticism right now looks he's scoring high. His positional versatility they're talking about, both Mike and Sam, that looks really good. Solid tackling, fluid lateral movement, some pass rushing chops, it's saying, as well as the ability at least to drop into coverage. Right. One of the things I think we were missing at the linebacker, I've always felt like this, is just speed.
Yeah.
You just need a bit more speed at linebacker.
He actually has pretty decent speed.
Right.
Let me throw this at you. So Jack Campbell, I believe he scored a 999 on the RAS score. Do you remember? I think he scored a 999. Trevor Nowaske scored a 985. So smart kid, right? Knows how to play the game. He's got big mitts, 10-inch hands. To your point, yeah, he's the 6'3", 240 range. He's listed at like 6 foot 2.5 inches, 237, but whatever, 6'3". He ran the 40 and 4.5. He had a 10-yard split of 1.59, and anything below 1.65 to me is cooking. His arm length is okay at 31. It's about 31 and 3/4 of an inch long. I mean, I would love to see him a little bit longer, but the thing about linebacker is their arms don't have to be super long like a defensive end. That is a position where they don't. I mean, it's better in coverage if you had longer arms, but they don't have to be 33 inches. Obviously, if you can find a linebacker with that kind of range and wingspan, obviously it would help. But at the end of the day, very smart kid, UDFA. I think he's going to be around this league for quite a while. I really do. I especially with what we're seeing now. Wait till we see him in year 3. He's just going to have more and more work between now and next year. He's really going to grow, and he's already blossoming into a pretty solid Sam linebacker.
Well, I think what we're also seeing is we needed somebody to fill in for who was our special teams captain last year?
Germ?
No.
Jalen Reeves-Maben?
Pittman.
Oh, Pittman. Okay.
Right? Because Pittman left. So I can see him stepping into that role that Pittman had. It's just there's a lot of different places that kickoff, kick return, punt team. You need it when you're kicking the ball off, especially on these punts. You need a good tackler. You need somebody with speed. These returners are fast, so he's going to be on the field a lot, whether he's playing linebacker or special teams. He's going to be one of those Rodrigo guys where he can step in and play. Is he a step down from what we would say maybe as a traditional starter in the league? Yeah, maybe, but can he make up for it with his hustle and his athleticism? Possibly. But he's going to give you a lot around the different areas of the team, like special teams and things like that. And then just I don't know. There's not really anything that you can point to measure this, but having a local kid who wants to be there, he probably grew up a Detroit Lions fan. Like, those are people you want around, and that's not necessarily going to earn him his next contract. But when you think about like the Hutch and now the Nowaskes and like those local people, like there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick shout out to Twin Peaks. Says Houston does not look the same. He can't penetrate like he used to. Should the Lions leverage him in a trade? Any thoughts? Well, I will say this in Houston's defense up front. We have such a small sample size from him since he's been back from injury. Number one, I don't think we've seen enough. Number two, he just went up against two of the best bookends in the league. I mean, next to Sewell, both of those tackles are better than Decker, in my opinion. Decker had a very rough weekend. But they're 87, low 90s, PFF grade, very good tackles. So he had the work cut out for him, no matter what. I would say that we haven't seen enough out of Houston. I really don't think that the Lions have confidence right now, or at least certain, coaches don't have confidence in Houston for whatever reason. I also think that he needs more time. I think that you have to give him a game like this weekend against the Titans. This is the defining moment, I think, for James Houston. You need to give him as much time as you can, especially if you've got a big lead. You need to put him in on all 3 downs and just tell him to go to work. And at least then you'll have some tape on him that if you do want to try to pull off a trade the next week, you'll have it. Good or bad. At least you know what you have. So to your point, Twin Peaks, I don't think he's the same yet, but I don't think we have a big enough sample size. What do you think, Jared?
I don't think we're in a position to trade away any sort of edge rushing help. I think, I don't.
We're kind of strapped.
Yeah, I don't see us trading away anybody. We're also, I think, looking at what standard are we holding James Houston to? He was a 6th-round pick out of Jackson
State. Yep.
Jackson State. you know, I don't know what we're going to get in a trade for him.
Nothing. He's not worth anything. What's he worth? A 7th round pick, maybe?
Maybe, right? I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze in trading him. I think you got to see what he's here. He knows the team. Is he the best at what he's doing right now? No, but you're not going to get anything back for him right now. And again, he's a 6th round pick out of Jackson State. And so I think what's happening too is like we're looking at what the draft picks that Holmes has made, and we're just assuming that all 5th, 6th round picks work out.
Yep, that's the greed factor I was talking about with the Lions a week or so ago.
Yeah, so I think James Houston is probably exactly what he was meant to be.
Well, I think we're kind of looking at his rookie season. You know, he comes in the last 7 games, he pops off for 8 sacks. You know, he gets 2 in his first game against the Bills. So I think that he set the bar extremely high, and then he gets whacked in an injury. And I feel like, for whatever reason, my personal opinion, my take here is, I think that AG has got it out for him for whatever reason. I mean, he doesn't play special teams. He's only a 3rd down specialist. They tried to convert him into a Sam linebacker. They tried to make him a 3-down line. That's not what he is. He's a Von Miller pass rusher on 3rd down. That's where they should have left him alone. But the Lions being the Lions, they should have known if you want versatility, that's not the player you draft. So they screwed up by drafting the wrong player if they felt that they were going to get someone that was versatile, because he's not. So
yeah, he transferred from Florida to Jackson State.
Yeah, and Florida he played linebacker.
Did he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's okay. I don't think he's going to be here long term, but I don't think trading him is going to reap anything that's going to help us this year more than just keeping him on the roster as a body that can step in occasionally. And maybe we see a glimpse. I think you're probably spot on. If the Tennessee game goes as we think and hope it will go, it could give him a lot of chances to rear back, pin his ears back and go after the passer and maybe build some confidence that way, get him some reps. But
great point.
I'm a little worried about Tennessee, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah. They can be a team that could be a thorn in our side. But great point there. You said that the big C word, man, confidence. And he has none right now. At least that's what it looks like, is he doesn't have any. And he needs a moment to get some of it back. I mean, he's coming back from a pretty gruesome injury himself. And that's why I'm so worried about Aiden Hutchinson, because, I mean, people are acting like the Aiden's going to come back and just be who he was. I mean, that's a really nasty injury. James Houston, his ankle injury affected him big time. So, I mean, we're up against it now. Our backs are up against the wall here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think everybody's talking about Aiden Hutchinson. If we make the Super Bowl, he's going to be back. It's like, why? If we make the Super Bowl, we're playing well enough that there's no reason to risk him further.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are latching on to this whole Super Bowl concept, and it's like, I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't even know where this really started, because the Lions themselves have stated there is 0 timetable. The only thing that Dan Campbell said was, I would never count Hutch out. He would never count him out from trying to make it back. But knowing what we know about bones and breaks like this and how long it takes to, at least heal the bone, I don't want to say the bone's going to be soft, but I mean, after repairing, it's kind of soft. It needs time to harden, the bone's got to harden, the muscles got to regrow, the nerves got to be firing right. It's got to get adequate blood flow down there. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can come back. He's going to lose a ton of muscle during this process. So I don't see him coming back in, what is that? We're in October. So November, December, January, 4 months. It's a 6-month injury.
Nope.
I don't see it, and I wouldn't want it. I'd be, if I could vote on the issue, I'd say no.
Shut him down.
Shut him down. See you next year.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope he's fine.
Have him around the facility. You know, obviously he's in the area. Just there's no need to even get people the hope or put the pressure on him to think that he has to. Plus, we also need to temper expectations of making the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, we want to be there, but that's a couple of carts ahead of the horse here.
Yeah, I'd say so too. All right. Well, I think that, so Brett Lighton, there you go, stem cells. I don't know what's allowed. I don't know what's allowed in the NFL, but, you know, there's osteoporosis type medications that I only know about because people I know are on them that help regrow bone swiftly. And I don't know if that stuff's allowed. I mean, going back to why J-Mo's in trouble. Let me get your 90 seconds on J-Mo and then we're going to bounce. You obviously heard the news and saw the news either last night or this morning. What's going through your head on J-Mo?
It's unfortunate. It's not the end of the world though. Like, I would be much more concerned if it was like a conduct detrimental to the team, substance, like a control, drugs or something like that. Like, listen, from I don't know what the actual substance
we don't know what it is yet either. Yeah,
somebody was saying this morning it might have been a pre-workout. Like, I think, yeah, this is part on J-Mo. It's also part on, you know, the Lions to make sure that our players are educated on what they can and can't do. From a training perspective, I think it's a gaffe. I think he's handling it the right way. He's saying, I'm going to take it on the chin and I'm going to move on. I want to get back with my guys as soon as possible. His attitude is the right. It's unfortunate to have this situation, but his attitude seems to be the right attitude. I don't really, it's disappointing, but I don't think I'm not as, if he wasn't playing well, I think maybe this would have been a bit more disappointing. I think he's, I think he gets a lot of, I think he's getting, because of the way he is, I think he's getting a lot more scrutiny than he probably should be. This isn't the end of the world. Yeah, it's not fun. It's kind of like, really, here we go. Come on, J-Mo, do better. But he'll be back in a couple weeks, and I think he's going to be more motivated than ever. So it's not ideal, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it could have been worse. I don't know what, like you said, I don't know what the substance is. And so I'm sure that my opinion would change if it's something obviously that we don't want to see. Drugs, anabolic steroids, whatever it is. We'll find out soon enough, I'm sure.
But I would rather have it be this than, you know, he missed a team meeting.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, that would have been like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he trying to get an edge? Is he trying to, did he, was it out of clear? I don't think it's probably something intentional. I think he probably just tried to use a pre-workout that he found out was banned. I hope that's the case. We'll probably figure that out in a few more days.
Yeah.
But I don't, disappointing, but listen, if there's 2 games to miss, well, the Titans are a good one. That's probably going to hurt us in Green Bay though. And that may have been why the Lions may have known this. I was talking to a family member this morning. The Lions may have known this, and that may have been why Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond had a bigger role in the game yesterday, or Sunday rather, is they knew this might be coming. That's something to think about too.
Yeah, it's kind of what I said this morning. I thought, you know, okay, did they know that this was going on? And that's why J-Mo didn't have a big role in the game? You know, like, they didn't want this win, you know, to be heavily asterisked by J-Mo's a cheater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying J-Mo's a cheater, but you can hear it's coming. You know, that type of stuff's coming. People are going to start saying
and they could have also, maybe they could have started this punishment last week and we decided not to, just in case we needed him or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to say, and we may never know. But the team usually knows about this before we find out about it. I just don't know how far in advance they know about it.
Yeah. Well, Jared, I appreciate you as always for coming on. Tonight is fantasy football tonight. You're down for that tonight, yeah?
Yeah, got some work to do today. This is the first time I've really looked at anything with 2 Monday night games. It's hard to get a head start on stuff, but
yeah, I mean, you just let me know if you need to push it till
tonight.
tomorrow. Just let me know. Otherwise, we'll be back around 7:00 tonight.
Yeah, I should be ready to go by 7. Let's do it.
Fantasy football tonight, 7:00. Join us right back here on this channel. So you guys have heard a little bit about what's going on with these Maxx Crosby trade rumors and the Za'Darius Smith and anybody else that is out there right now. Let Brad Holmes finish cooking. He's gonna find us somebody, but I'm not expecting the big top tier 1 guys to come in that have lengthy contracts. Like I've said, if Maxx Crosby had, if this was the final year of his deal, yeah, I think it would be a no-brainer as long as the draft capital makes sense. Brad Holmes wants to build us a winner for a long period of time. Sustainability over a period is hard to come by in the NFL. And I feel like that is the direction that Brad Holmes has always had us going in. Why would we want to risk it now? I'd rather see us winning, for years to come versus blow it all in a year and then you're going to have to start rebuilding again because the contracts got too big. So don't want to see that happen. But Brad will do what's right. Dan Campbell said that their eyes are open. They're looking, but it has to be right. Has to be perfect for the team. But we'll see you back here at 7:00 tonight. Appreciate all the new viewers this morning, the new members, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you back here later on tonight. Jared, thanks again. Have a good day, man.
Charge, ready for the fight. No more hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rock on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. In the city, when the roar meets the night, the Lions charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rocked on, Detroit Lions will rise. Rocked on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. With every game, we rise and unite. Feeling the passion igniting the light. Through highs and lows, we'll stand as one. A legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together